It's really crazy to think about, but just around exactly a year ago to this day, I was sitting around the dinner table with my Spanish host family, surrounded by the warm and earthy Sevilla air, as I finished a game of Continental and prepared for movie night. Yeah, study abroad was an amazing time. What a day! Wow. I had a fantastic study abroad experience, and I imagine that many of you may be college students intending to study abroad yourselves, are on the fence about it, or just curious to learn more about what it entails and how to maximize the experience. I was this close to not studying abroad because I had no reference experience to something like that coming into college. I thought that pre-meds couldn't do it. I was scared to miss a semester at Harvard, and a host of other reasons. But I'm really glad I dug into it more and took the plunge because it turned out to be an experience that I'll remember for a very, very long time. So in this video, I'll dive into a couple of tips and strategies you can keep in mind as you consider studying abroad during your university years. And for reference, I'll leave in the description a video that I made sharing my experience studying abroad in Sevilla. Dicho esto, ya sabes, al lío. Awesome. I've got a couple of notes. Let's dive right in. Tip number 1, remove any obstacles to taking the plunge. First up is deciding whether to study abroad or not. I want to jump out and say that everyone should study abroad, and so just take the plunge and do it, but I know everyone's situation is unique. So here's something to try. Take out a sheet of paper or your phone and write down all the tangible and intangible reasons that would prevent you from being able to study abroad. Things like, I might not be able to finish my degree requirements on time and graduate, it's expensive, I'm not sure what programs are available, and I'm scared to be away from home. Now your job for the next week is to go and collect all the information you need to disprove all of those reasons that you wrote down. So if you're worried about degree requirements, draw up 3 schedules. The first will be the classes you'll definitely need to take to graduate, assuming you don't study abroad. The second is all the classes you'll take each semester, assuming you study abroad and earn no credits for your major. And the third schedule is all the classes you'll take each semester, assuming you study abroad and receive some credit for your major. This third schedule will require you to have conversations with your academic advisor, look at available programs, as well as potentially classes that those programs offer. But this exercise will help you understand better how much room you have academically. You might realize that you can actually take a full semester away without earning any credits and be completely fine. Or you might realize that you just need to fulfill one specific requirement abroad, and so your question becomes, is there a program that will let me finish this requirement while I'm abroad? And pro tip, take these schedules to your academic advisor, share with them how much you want to study abroad, and see how you can work together to make that possible. Because sometimes the requirements are not explicitly written out, and you can actually cover more abroad than you think. In my case, I had a biology requirement that I found out I could finish abroad if I found a biotech course. So I browsed the University of Sevilla website, found a course, suggested it to my academic advisor, got the green thumbs up, and was good to go. That scheduling exercise was a missing piece that made me realize that I could actually study abroad as a computer science and pre-med student. Tip number 2, talk to students who've studied abroad in your school. Find students who have gone abroad at your university and talk to them about all the tangible and intangible reasons that you listed in the previous exercise. Students in your university are best because they likely have the same access to programs and school support that you will, so you can find out exactly how they approached the search, the application process, what their experience was like abroad, and how it was coming back to campus and resettling in. For me, even after I'd crossed off most of my obstacles, I was still leaning towards not studying abroad because I couldn't imagine what the experience was like and whether it was worth missing a semester at Harvard. But I remember having a 30-minute chat with a student who made it real for me. She shared how much she enjoyed staying with a host family, how she managed taking classes all in Spanish, and how smooth it was to come back to campus the following semester and pick up where she had left off with friends. I left that conversation tons more confident that study abroad made sense for me and that everything would go well. And I ended up doing the exact same program that she had done. Casa Sevilla. So if you're seeing this, Julia, thank you. Tip number 3, choose a semester when you're ready for a change in scenery. When you go abroad varies for everyone, but I would try to pick a semester where you feel like you're not going to miss much on campus and you're ready for a change in scenery. I personally chose to go during my junior spring because I felt like the first year was for learning what college was about, sophomore year was for settling into a rhythm, and junior fall was an academically intense semester. Plus, I wanted to preserve my senior year to be able to enjoy the last year of college on campus. But I have had friends who've gone during their sophomore year and even senior spring as well, so don't rule these options out. Tip number 4 is to choose a priority for the semester abroad. What experience have you not yet had in college that you would like to now prioritize? You'll be away from home in a new country, and there'll be a million and one things you could be doing at any moment of the day. So it'll be useful for you personally to check in with yourself before you go. Think about what you'd like to take away from the study abroad experience, and set that as a priority to guide your decisions. For me, I knew I was still super interested in learning Spanish, and I was looking for a semester of rest after having my foot on the gas for all of school. So my study abroad priority became language learning learning, and reflection. But maybe you're looking for something else. Maybe you want a differentiated academic experience, and you want to see how history, literature, or physics is approached from a different part of the globe. Or maybe you're more keen on traveling and exploring and seeing as many places and faces as possible. Whatever it is for you, think deeply both before you go and while you're there about what it is that you'd like to prioritize, and use that as a marker to help guide and shape your experience abroad. Tip number 5 is to choose a location and study abroad program that works for you. Okay, so now you want to choose a place to go and a program that will take you there. You could go about this in many ways: spontaneity and picking the first place that sounds interesting to you, looking by programs that fulfill your degree requirements, looking by programs with a language focus or those in English, and various other criteria. I started my search with 4 criteria: be in a Spanish-speaking country, focus as much as possible on language learning, have a host family component, and find a class that will give me at least 1 biology or computer science credit that will transfer. Those criteria narrowed things down pretty quickly for me, and I ended up with 3 or 4 options. I ended up choosing Casa Sevilla because the end date was before my summer internship, and because I heard great things from conversations I had with past students. So think about a couple of things: how much academic room you have to seek degree classes versus not having to, what your priority is, if you have to be back in the US by a specific date for an internship or summer program, and the experiences of past students. Use those to narrow down the programs that your school offers. I would definitely start with the programs that your school hosts or sponsors students for in some way, because these will likely have the most support. But you can also search outside of your school and bring those programs into your school advising department to see if they can support you on any of those programs. I'll toss down some external references in the description, but feel free to leave any that you found as well so we can all help each other. Searching for a dollar bill. Okay, let's continue. Tip number 6, decide whether you want to engage deeply with a few places or travel and sample many. To travel or not to travel when you're abroad. This isn't a binary, but at some point it's going to be useful to know whether you'd like to lean in more to staying at the city or country that you're studying abroad in and really getting to know that one place well, or venturing off to visit surrounding countries and sampling many places. The more time you spend away is less time that you have to spend in the city you're studying abroad in to really get to know it well, but the reverse is true as well. The more time you spend in the city you're studying abroad in, the less time you have to get to know other surrounding locations and countries. For me personally, I quickly fell for Sevilla when I got there, and I decided that I really wanted to set roots in the town and make it feel like a home, so I set out to spend as much time there as possible. I actually didn't end up traveling outside of Spain at all to any other surrounding countries, but I did visit a few surrounding cities that were close to Sevilla. While I didn't get to explore other countries, I made deep friendships in Sevilla, I gained a second family, and Sevilla really feels something like another home for me. So I'm biased towards really getting to know one spot well, but it's a matter of personal preference. So decide how much traveling makes sense for you, and then you can plan your visits and excursions accordingly. Tip number 7, pack light. Please, before you haul your entire dorm or room and every possession you own, try this. For 1 week, make a note of the things around your house that you actually use. The clothes you tend to wear, your laptop, etc. But you can't put it on your list unless you actually use it that week. Now when you're packing, most of the things you end up taking should be selected from this list, save for a few items. After struggling with heavy suitcases, paying for luggage, and dragging heavy bags around cities in previous trips, I decided to change for Spain. I actually ended up going to Spain with just the backpack and the carry-on. And I lived there for around 5 months with no problem. Now, while I think this is certainly doable for most people, you can swap out the carry-on for an actual luggage, but just remember that the more you bring, the more you have to mentally and physically account for. Your host family might also not have that much space for your things, and you might end up having to lug that suitcase around, especially if you travel. An extra note, you'll want to be sure to leave some room in your suitcase for souvenirs and things you end up buying while abroad, so don't completely stuff the luggage. Tip number 8, stay with a host family if you can. This is another biased personal note from me based on my experience, but I'm a big fan of programs that allow you to live with locals in the country you're visiting. It's a great way to become a local in the country rather than feel like you're a visitor, and it introduces you to people that live in that city who can also introduce you to other people, so it can make making friends easier. I met a lot of people through my host family who brought me to family gatherings and other events they were having, and my host brothers introduced me to their friend group, so I ended up meeting a lot of people in Sevilla because of my host family. We also got to do really fun things like cook traditional meals together and listen to music and talk about traditions. Tip number 9 is to journal while you're abroad. Studying abroad is a really unique experience that you may never get to do again in your life in the same way. I mean, when else will you be able to be a college student in a foreign country with fewer responsibilities than you might have in other points of your life? It's a unique time that can lead to a lot of growth, so journaling while you're there is a great way to capture the experience. You can write about the things that you're seeing and experiencing, the things that you're learning about yourself, and just generally take some time to reflect, which is something we often don't have time for. I kept a little journal while I was in Sevilla, just through notes on my phone, and I gave myself a little challenge to write one word or one sentence every single day about my experience in Spain. And that was a great, low-stress way to jot down and record some of the things that I was experiencing. And finally, the last tip number 10, is to have fun, choose your own path, and share the experience. I gave a lot of tips and shared my perspective in this video, but at the end of the day, it's your experience. Build it in a way that's meaningful to you. It's completely okay to see my experience, the experience of other past students, and the experiences of students that are in the program with you at the exact same time, and to notice that yours is very different from theirs. I became a lone wolf at certain points of my program, and it was good to know that I could kind of venture off and have my own adventure. And something else, try to enjoy as much of the experience as possible, but don't feel pressured to feel like everything is great all the time, every single day. You might not like some parts of the experience. Maybe you get homesick at one point, or the language is tough for you, and those things are all completely okay as well. And the last thing is that study abroad can feel inaccessible to some students, especially first-generation college students who may not have a similar experience to compare to. So when you come back from studying abroad, jot down an honest account of your experience, how you approached it, what made study abroad possible, and make study abroad more transparent for students that come after you. Sometimes just seeing or hearing about one other person's experience is enough to light the flames for someone. So that's all for today, but if anyone's considering studying abroad, let us know where you're thinking of going in the comments and what you're planning on prioritizing. Come back for more videos on Spain, studying abroad, and learning Spanish, and I'll catch you next time. Sending good vibes and energy to you all, and hasta la próxima.